welcome to part 30 of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. Lotta Hart is an idiot, because if she would have gave up this photo, like, moments ago, days ago if you will, we wouldn't be in this predicament, and there wouldn't be Larry shouting to the top of his voice and interrupting a court case. But, seeing as how Larry actually shed some light on the situation, I think things have changed. And seriously though, she should have gave up the 11:50 photo to the police so that they would actually catch on to the fact that the murder may have happened at 11:50 since there was 2 gunshots. And while yeah, I was mistaken that I thought the gunshot was Larry's balloon, no, the gunshot happened after Larry retrieved his balloon. In other words, her camera picked up loud noises, and while she was thinking that it's Gordy, she was disheartened to find out it was not. But at the same time, that also means that someone fired before midnight and after midnight. That would explain why there is absolutely no one on the water. But whatever the case, that means there's 3 gunshots in total. And we're trying to figure it out. So, there really were 2 gunshots, but there was a 25-minute pause. Now, things are starting to get interesting and turning into our favor. Although Von Karma is trying to deter the whole thing. This time around, he's not giving any proof. Or he wants proof at least. As a matter of fact, Von Karma brought out an interesting point that the witness could have sneezed. But there is a problem. And there is no turning back. And look at that penalty right up the top. I warned you that there would be 2-level penalties for this. And here's the thing. You're going to have to present the pistol as evidence. And that was a frame rate drop right there. But there is something about the pistol that people keep forgetting. The weapon was fired 3 times. And we only can account for 2. So what exactly are the 2 times? We're gonna have to actually reveal that. But we're gonna soon come to a point where we would have to find out for real what's going on. And it seems that the judge is confused on what happened last night. Or on that night, actually. So, what exactly is the whole purpose of this? Now it's time for us to answer a question. There is only one explanation. And unfortunately, Phoenix is gonna have to bullshit this one too. Which is what he's good at. And while the Steel Samurai may pass off as filler, it's actually important because the same thing he did with the Silver Samurai he's about to do here. And that is run with a hunch and hope that the hunch is correct. So, unfortunately, it's either do or die. Whatever we do, if we don't get this done, we may just die, or at least Edgeworth will. So, what exactly are we waiting for? The actual segment where the judge will ask, why the, shooting happened and who it was that did the shooting, or who was on the boat. But before we do, I think we have to show evidence too later on as well. But there was no way to tell who was on that boat and no way to tell who shot who. So now here comes the interesting part. How to prove that this was the actual place where the murder took place. Or at least how to prove it's not the actual place that the murder took place. So we're going to have to actually answer some questions and reveal some possibilities. So now the judge is lost. And the only thing we can actually know is, well, Hammond got shot on that day. And at that time. So in other words, Robert Hammond's death was at 11:50 as opposed to, well, midnight. And here's what you have to choose. Edgeworth and the murderer. That's the only thing that you need to choose, because anything else will get you a penalty. So on that note, Robert Hammond was practically killed and impersonated by the person who did the shooting. And they more than likely wanted to see Edgeworth to kill him. If that is the case, then let's be honest, we have ourselves one serious situation here. Well, seeing as how Edgeworth didn't actually see Robert Hammond, he couldn't identify himself as Robert Hammond. Anybody else could have, even Von Karma. But Von Karma wasn't there at the time. So the murderer is, I don't know. That's what you're going to tell everybody, because if you choose Miles, Edgeworth, or Lotta Hart, you're going to be hit with a penalty. So, if you remember, the person who was on the witness stand didn't even tell us his name. So the murderer happened to be the caretaker of the boat shop himself. He killed Robert Hammond, but the question is why? So, in other words, the actual murder not have took place in sea. The murder would have taken place somewhere else. So we're going to have to show on the map where did the murder took place. And this one, if you miss, well, that's going to be a penalty for you. So where we need to put the cursor is right here on this camping ground, or at least the boat shop. And after I got control of my television, because, well, I was tired at least, and more importantly, it started dropping frame rates again, it's safe to say that we know that the boat shop is actually the place where the murder took place. Yes, here's the problem. 11:50, Larry was out in the middle of the ocean looking for his steel samurai, sorry. So once he put the boat up, he could hear the gunshots from a close distance because they're right by each other. And Edgeworth didn't even notice until the gunshot went off. Not Edgeworth, I meant, Larry. He didn't notice until the gunshot went off. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Turns out that caretaker really is a killer. If there was only a way to prove it, though. So now we're going to have to explain what happened at night at Gort Lake so we can clear up some things. So, with that said, we'll have to start all over from the beginning. And as it seems, Manfred von Karma is pretty much throwing a temper tantrum because Phoenix has defined everything that von Karma tried to do, like end the case or pin the blame on Edgeworth. He just did everything he could. And now, the only gunshot Larry heard was the one that killed Robert Hammond and left him for dead. So he put on Robert Hammond's jacket, jumped in the boat, and by the way, he was the one who shot Edgeworth. And by he, I meant the caretaker. So, you have to put in, he wanted to create a witness. And that's what you have to put in. Anything else would have got you a penalty. So the guy shot at Edgeworth and missed him on purpose so that someone would actually catch him. And that's another thing people misunderstand. The reason why he did that so that somebody who happens to be there might draw attention to him. To catch Edgeworth in the act, per se. So, now that he's created Edgeworth as this witness to murder, or at least more importantly, create some random stranger who was a witness to murder, Edgeworth would have to do everything in his power to try to eliminate all guilt from him. However, the guy actually left the pistol behind. And that's why Edgeworth picked it up. So it looked like one of the men was shot by Edgeworth, but in reality, the caretaker swam and ran away as fast as he could. So now that everything has been revealed, only thing left is to go after that old geezer, since he may be the key to this case. Now then, you may have to prepare yourself, because you know that old man that happened to be at the lake? Excuse me one second. Alright, I'm back. And now the judge wants the witness brought back to the stand so he can answer for the fact of whether or not he was the murderer or not. Unfortunately for the bailiff, the caretaker pretty much ran off. And it turns out everything the caretaker has said might be true. But one thing is for sure. The only person who had no testimony throughout this whole case was Miles Edgeworth. So if we would have heard his side of the story, he probably would have felt shocked and thought he did it. But that wasn't the case. Apparently, it turns out the boat keeper pretty much forged Hammond's signature and sent it over 2 miles to try to lure Miles out into the open. On that note, it comes to the point where the witness has all but bolted. And now, we need to actually find him. No, not him. No, not us, but actually the police need to find him and bring him back to trial. This is something that's unprecedented even for Manfred von Karma. And a search warrant has already been issued, so now we want to find out the truth about this old man and how he was able to just up and leave when it was probably him that did the murder in the first place. So, the judge wants to know exactly who that boatkeeper is, and we want to know too. And at this point in time, Edgeworth is safe for now, once again. So it's only a matter of time before we get closer and closer to try to find out exactly who it is that boatkeeper really is, but more importantly, who really killed Robert Hammond. But as I said, there may be a good chance that DL6 may rear its ugly head. So for the time being, we can actually at least have a sigh of relief that we've managed to hold off on Karma for the time being. And unfortunately, Edgeworth still has something on his mind. And he doesn't know what, well, he knows what it is, it's just that he doesn't want to tell anybody because he's so ashamed. As it stands, there is one more important thing. He actually has a reoccurring nightmare. And that reoccurring nightmare traumatizes him every day of the week. So in other words, now that we've come this far, maybe Edgeworth can elaborate something. In fact, he wants to at least say that he committed a crime. More importantly, he may have committed murder. And that's the last thing anybody needs to hear is their witness admitting to murder, and we just got him off of one murder. We'll find out more about what that is, but more importantly, we may have to look for that old man in the next episode of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney as we actually start Day 3 investigation. Maybe we'll shed some light in this case. Or maybe DL6 will rear its ugly head and things may get a little bit more awkward from there.